will say I'm suddenly reminded of that one Pokemon meme that I showed you guys.
Which Pokemon meme?
The invincible one.
I don't even remember that meme. I don't think it made as
Uh,
much of an impact on me.
I can't believe it.
I feel like
Not
that was.
everyone here is a Pokemon master, Eric.
You don't
I'm
have
sorry.
to be. You literally don't have to be.
Is that just the one where you crossed out all the words in the invincible meme and made it different? That's not.
You.
That is
Look,
literally not
I've
even
seen
the
that
the invincible meme. Like,
Oh my god.
Wait, what do you mean it's not? It's funny. It's a complete butchering of it, and it just says "OU."
yeah, it's not. That's not funny,
It's
dude.
funny.
Oh my god, I can't believe it.
It's pretty funny.
Teva
Well,
has bad sense of humor if he doesn't find that
we'll let the
funny.
viewers decide, dude. Just go on YouTube. There'll be an image of it. You can
Okay,
decide.
before we start, speaking of
Yeah.
images, you want to know what happened? I mean, I don't know. You can record. There is a visual reference for this, but
Yeah.
I'm sitting at work, and one of my friends, she was like in her group chat, and someone sent this one GIF, right?
Okay.
And she was like, "Wait, that looks like Eric." And the moment she said that, everyone was like, "Huh, it kind of does look like Eric." And
Yeah.
she sent it to me and was like, "Hey, what are your thoughts on this GIF?" I was like, "Huh, where'd you find this GIF of me?"
Wait.
Oh.
Wait. There's a GIF of you online?
It's not. But honestly, for that split second, I thought it was because I sent it in the chat. You can see it.
All
The
right.
the fact that it's the odd context that it's also in a climbing gym, and also they just so happen to have long hair, glasses.
Wait. This does not
gray
look like
pants,
you
and a black
at all.
It's more so the fact that it's like the gray t-shirt or the gray pants, black
This-
t-shirt, climbing gym, long hair, like
This man is pale.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
This man is a white man.
Am I a racist for saying it doesn't look like you? Like,
Yes, sir.
He's so
We're
white.
about to cancel you.
Oh my god.
But no, just like literally everything except for this like homie skin color. I'm like, damn. First thing I'm out will straight up, when how'd you get this GIF of me?
Oh no, dude! Wait, I don't know, man. The pants don't match. None of it. This isn't.
Wait, what do you mean
None
the
of it
pants
matches.
don't match?
I don't see the pants for you.
Unless
those
you got a
exact
full
pants.
pair of pants since last week.
Yeah, I don't
Those
see
are the dark gray pants that I
No,
have.
no,
What are you
Those are
talking
light
about?
gray.
the fit's
Those are light
different.
gray.
The
but
fit's
it's
different.
pretty much
May
me.
not be very good at colors, but that's definitely a light gray.
Oh, that's an
telling-
interesting thing that happened in one of our group chats recently. People trying to imagine colors in their heads and failing.
Wait, Teva, could you?
Kind of like yes, but no. Like
What do you mean yes, but
okay,
no?
let's set up the situation. There's an image, right, where it's basically like imagine, like close your eyes and try and imagine a red square, right? And then there's kind of this like chart that'll show you like, so what did you actually see in your mind's eye, and like how badly do you have this, like, I don't know if it's a condition or like this, basically it's called like aphantasia. You like can't visualize things in your head. This is something that some people do very naturally and something that apparently some people cannot do. I have this weird thing. I do it better with my eyes open.
Same.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. I
Yeah.
can visualize better if I don't have my eyes closed.
Yeah, if my eyes are closed, it's like it's hard to like give it as much color. Like, I don't know, it's weird. I can conceptualize it in space, but it's harder to give it like the color. If my eyes are open, I feel like I just see a red square. Like I can visualize it in my mind's eye better. So I don't know what that says about me, but I don't think I have aphantasia.
I mean, you did mention that one of your friends, one of the D-mans,
D-man.
did
Yeah.
completely have aphantasia.
Yes.
Is that what you mentioned, right?
Yeah. Did I mention that on here or just with you
I feel
guys?
like you've brought it up before,
I've
and then
brought-
you and the rest of your friends relentlessly bullied him.
Well, the reason we learned he had aphantasia is we were playing this we were playing Codenames, which, you know, if anyone lives under a rock and doesn't know what Codenames is, it's basically like a board game where you like try and give hints based on words to find other words. And he was like really good at like giving hints. And we're like, "Damn, how do you make these associations with words like in your head?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I can't like see things, so everything I do is word association." It's like, "Wait, what?" What do you mean you can't see things like in your head? So yeah, he has aphantasia, like very strong aphantasia.
And see, like that as a concept is really difficult for me to grasp my head around because I definitely don't have that. Like, it's very easy for me to be able to picture things in a 3D sense and an actual like picture it. I think that's also part of the reason why I'm very good. Maybe not part of the reason, but actually not probably. But I'm very good with my hands and as far as like mechanically figure things out, because I can picture how something might interlock, how it might interact with another thing.
Huh.
And I think that's some part the actual mind's eye being able to picture that and also being able to logic it out at the same time.
You
So
know,
I think that's why I'm very good with that kind of stuff, like visual puzzles.
what's funny is that I vaguely have aphantasia. Like I have the same thing as Teva. Like it's
Yeah.
easier for me to imagine things if I'm not closing my eyes, but I'm also not particularly good at imagining things. But I do consider myself pretty good with spatial arrangements.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
fitting stuff in the back of a car, or, you know, putting things together, constructing mechanisms, and part of the reason part of the way that I figure that out is literally moving my body instead of visualizing. Like I'll motion with my hands the way things should be.
Whoa, have you
I've
tried
seen-
climbing?
I've seen. God damn it! I've seen this happen in person too. We'll like be getting groceries, and Luke will be like moving, and I'll be like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm putting the groceries in the car," whilst not putting the groceries in the car.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
it helps
yeah.
me to visualize if I can spatially.
Yeah.
My spatial visualization is better if I'm also
We're just gonna start making up words
moving
right now.
stuff.
Yeah.
Spatial
Like
kinesthetic
moving my
movements.
arms.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
That actually might
combination
be a
of
phrase.
kinesthetic and like visualization at the same time.
Yeah.
Which
No, it
maybe
makes sense.
I'm sure there's some sort of paper out there where they've studied this, but
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I don't know what the scientific term would be either, but yeah, like spatial awareness. I don't know. It's weird, but
And like that's something where it's always I wouldn't say take it for granted, but it's something where sometimes I'm always shocked by people's inability to do certain things that do come naturally. Like, for instance, I remember one of our friends back in San Diego mentioned this, and they talked about, was it you, Teva, actually?
maybe
Or was it the other one who said that?
the other one.
Oh no, I know who said it. But they basically mentioned that their friend was actually having a mental breakdown because they didn't know how to search something. Like they just, as a concept, they did not know how to Google search something like at all. They didn't know where to start. And I think for us, and for I think for most people, especially our generation, that comes as a very natural thing. Like if you have a question, you just go into Google and you type in, I don't know, spatial kinesthetic intelligence or something like that, right?
It's really not that hard with Google. Like Google makes it so easy. Like you can type a jumble of words and a lot of times you'll get what you're looking for. And like with ChatGPT now, this problem is going to get even easier. Like
Yeah, exactly, right? But for them, they just did not have a concept of that whatsoever. And to me, that's really hard to wrap my head around, right? Where even my mom, in her nearing 70s, like she's able to figure these things out, right? Just from simply Google searching things. But yeah, like if no one has ever expressly taught you these things, then I realize, yeah, sometimes it's difficult. And other times there's more inherent intrinsic skills, which I, again, would have assumed that Googling things is more of an intrinsic skill, right?
I mean,
But
we also grew up like as the internet was like booming. Like we very much grew up with it.
yeah.
So we're like one of the first generations to like naturally like grow up Googling things.
Have you guys tried Googling things recently? Google search results have gotten really bad.
Have y'all been
How
Googling
so?
recently? Like, what?
No. Like, just because of how search engine optimization and marketing have become so huge for digital content and for websites, the first few search results are sometimes not super relevant to what I'm actually looking for. And they're all just very well designed web pages. They're like designed with search engine optimization in mind to show up higher on the rankings and get clicks.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes
This
a lot
is
of
why
sense.
Google searches become how to do X thing Reddit or
Oh.
best pair of earphones Reddit, because then you know that you're
You know
getting
what?
like opinions from people,
Yeah.
which are probably
I
real people.
have noticed that actually
Yeah.
with as far as when I'm trying to find a particular specific niche information, because that's what I typically Google, right? It's like, hey, there's this real niche thing. How do I, best deal with that? You're always going to go to places like Reddit for exactly those things because that's where you find niche information, right?
Well, it's really funny. I swear there was like a podcast or something I was listening to that talked about this exact problem. It might have been like Radiolab or something, but essentially yes, nowadays it's like Reddit has information from like individuals that is like more meaningful, but their search optimization is even more dog shit. So the
Yeah.
solution is use Google search and then specify you want results from Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, there are websites that are supposed to be for answering questions, but if you've ever looked at the answer to a question on Quora, that place is also just terrible.
This is bad. Or you get like a random site where it's like top 5, like I don't know, like
That's why I use Yahoo Answers.
top 5 headphones to buy of 2023, and it's like this is useless. Like these this is meaningless. Like
Yeah, they just searched in Amazon headphones and took the top results.
yeah. Like
Mhm.
I could do that. I could go on Amazon right now. I want to know which one to buy.
Yeah, and that's something. No, I definitely. I mean, actually, now that you bring it up, yeah, I definitely have noticed that a lot more recently. And where it's just, yeah, it's difficult to find the specific information that you do want. Which, even when I was trying to find replacements for my headphones, funny enough, because they broke a while ago, or some of the bits essentially cracked and shattered. It took me so much work to actually find replacement parts for it. Like a lot of it was kind of ads being pushed up for sites that weren't relevant at all. And I essentially had to specifically contact the customer support to get led into another website that was their wholesale supplier in order to even get the parts that I needed.
I
Like
mean,
anywhere else, I don't know, it's so difficult to actually find what you need.
I could be wrong because I'm not a very like fix it myself kind of guy, but I also feel like that is another thing that is changing a lot in the world. Like so many products are moving from like here are component parts, if something breaks you can fix it, to like our model is if this breaks you buy a new one. Like you just get a fresh new one. Like obviously this is happening for phones, like apparent like for your headphones it's good you could get the parts, but I'm sure like many like things are just so much more so like hey just replace it with a fresh one. We don't have the parts for this, especially if it's like more than 5 years old. Like if you have an old model keyboard, you might not be able to get any of the parts for it because they just don't make them anymore.
Yeah. And honestly, I gotta say, real glad that I bought the brand that I did because I'm just doing some quick random Google searches of other brands. They do not offer replacement parts like they did at all. Because essentially, for my headphones, I was able to replace Bayer Dynamics is the ones that I have. You're
Sponsor
able to
this
replace
video.
like sponsor of this video.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and you can replace every single part on this headphone. Like, there's not a single part you can't replace, which is really nice because they're expensive headphones, you know. So might as well spend $20 to replace one thing than the entire unit, which I'm glad for. I do wish we had more of that, but like you said, what sells is being able to sell that entire unit when stuff breaks.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, as someone who is not a fix-it person, it does not bother me that much because, like, yeah, if something I would rather have something that comes in one piece and actually works, that's like the key part, than something that like has all these different component parts that you can like modulate and mess with. Just because I'm not like very much a tinkerer, right? Like I don't want to tinker with stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I know, Teva, you definitely are the least out of us as far as like getting your hands kind of like involved in that kind of stuff.
We make
How
yeah.
would you, Luke? Like, do you think that you prefer having the convenience of just a whole replacement, or would you rather be able to replace each individual part if need be?
Uh, Depends on my level of expertise with what the item is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I grew up playing with Legos, so I do consider myself pretty good with small parts and bits and bobs and
Dude,
putting stuff together.
I'm also
funny.
good with small parts,
I-
but for a different reason.
Well, I didn't grow up with Legos or small parts, so I unrelatable experience.
Oh no.
I will say that was actually one of my favorite parts with living with both of you was like anytime something went wrong, it just felt like you guys like had your shit together. You're just like, oh, we'll just do this. It'll be fine. Oh, we'll just do this. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, growing up with a dad who was a handyman is probably one of those convenient things you could have because you never have to call anyone for help. It's just like, oh, damn, the sink's broken. Hey, dad, it's just that
Right.
simple. You don't have to worry
Yeah.
about bringing any one particular in.
You also like learn through osmosis. I will say my dad is not very handy, and neither am I. But like I'm better than he is, which
I mean, hey, there you go.
Yeah.
And and someday you will be able to switch out your own tires.
No.
What do you mean?
No,
No,
I have AAA for that reason.
God, I can't wait for you to get so stranded where you don't have
I
reception. Then
mean,
you're gonna regret.
it's how to, well, you need to have all the stuff like with you in your car, right? Like you need like a car jack, and you need like a spare tire, and you need like the drill. But like I think theoretically I know how it is done. I just like don't have the tools to do it.
Teva, most cars
I
have those tools.
Your car 100% has those tools.
Yeah, you probably have a spare in your trunk.
I have,
Yes.
well, some cars have like a real spare, and nowadays a lot of cars have like a shitty spare. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean most
Mhm.
cars have the tiny spare,
Oh, do
unless
they?
you're like a Jeep
That makes
Which,
sense.
which has the spare on the back.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
as a quick note that I didn't realize, when I had to change out my tire like a month ago, and I had to repump my tires, the sand ones, 30 psi, I believe.
Okay.
It's like 30 or 60. The spare gets pumped to like 160.
Wait, what?
Yes.
PSI?
Yes.
Oh my
What
god.
the
Because
fuck?
I forget the exact. I have to just assume the reason is because it's a smaller tire.
There's no way. That's crazy.
But
Well,
no, it's like a 130, 160, but it's like an insane amount compared to your standard tire PSI.
I'm pretty sure my car has like pretty high PS. Like the max you want to go is like 40 something on like any of the tires. Like that just sounds crazy.
Why is spare tire PSI so high? Reddit.
Wow, skill look, googling in action.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness.
My assumption though
That's
is
how it
that it's
works.
just because it is typically a smaller tire, and that's probably why. Because it's not just smaller; it's thinner as well too, right? It's nowhere
Yeah,
near
so
as
it needs
wide as
like
your
more
standard
pressure to
tires.
like be able to. It's all, yeah, it's thinner, so it needs like more pressure maybe to
Mhm.
like not get flattened.
Yeah, but again, I'm not a mechanic. I just know how to do the things. Do I know the reasons? Yeah, I can spitball.
I
But
mean,
hey, what's a podcast if not for expounding things that you have vague knowledge of?
true.
That's what we did for 5 minutes at the end of the last episode.
Yeah.
What do you mean? We're experts in
Yeah,
The
we've
Last of
all
Us.
watched The Last
Dude,
of Us.
well, oh my god. I started watching another show with the people I watched The Last of Us with.
Mm-hmm.
I've started watching. It's the show called Severance. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's
I
on
love
what's it about?
semblance.
Semblance. It's on Apple TV. So it has this really cool like sci-fi like procedure where you
Mhm.
can like which is called Severance. It's where the show gets its name. Where you basically take your brain and you essentially split it such that you're one person when you're like in the workplace and another person like during your free time at home.
Oh, yeah, I have heard people talk about this show.
Yeah. So I have a question related to this, which
Mhm.
is, would you do it,
No, that's stupid.
Eric?
Say that again.
So like the idea is like high conceptually level is you can split yourself so that one of you, like there's a you that basically only works your job. And then there's a you that like exists anytime you are outside your job. And
Simultaneously?
not simultaneously. If you're working your job, it's basically like you're sleeping, you're unconscious.
Uh-huh.
The other caveat to this procedure, which I didn't know when people posed it to me, is this is like an elective procedure. You get to choose to do it, and if you do the elective procedure, it is like guaranteed you end up the person who is not the one working all the time.
Does the person who's working all the time know that there's another person, or is that what happens in the show?
Yeah, so the way it works in the show, and minor spoilers for like episode 1 maybe, right? Is like there's an orientation. So as the person who is the one who's stuck at work, you basically like wake up and you're like, I don't know who I am. Like, who am I? And then you get like oriented and like, hey, you're this person. You basically only exist in the workplace, and this is like what you do, blah blah blah. Like they
Man,
would
whoever wrote this must have really hated their job.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe if you're like, I don't know, an accountant, it's like just like grinding hours you don't want to like spend doing, and you could like let go of those. Like I kind of see that appeal, but I don't like the idea of like blacking out randomly during the day.
Yeah, that doesn't seem very fun.
Yeah.
So it's funny you bring this up, and it's almost embarrassing to say, but there's an entire Rick and Morty episode that's just that.
Yes, Rick and Morty. Is it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen much Rick and Morty.
Yeah, essentially, just the long story short of it is there's a day family that does their normal day things, and then at nighttime, when they go to sleep, their bodies wake up and autonomously do like chores.
Oh, okay.
right? So it's kind of like a more condensed version of that in one episode, right?
It's like the caveat. It's the trade offer is your household just gets cleaned by you, but you're unconscious. Like,
Pretty much.
I mean, what's the downside?
Yeah, I mean, of course, something's got to happen, right?
Right, right.
The
But
downside is you're in an episode of Rick and Morty.
yeah,
Oh,
pretty much.
true.
But basically, I don't know. Like, just going back to the idea of severance, I don't know. Would I want that? Like, I guess I don't have a lot of issues with my life, so I feel like for me, I don't see much of a benefit to it.
Yeah, I my take is that like I even though it wouldn't like be me, like this kind of gives me like Soma vibes, right? Like
Mm.
Soma the game. Like even though it wouldn't be me, there would be like a version of me with like a lot of my like pre-intrinsic like parameters that is basically living a life of doing nothing but work and only exists in work. And if I ever like quit that job, they just like disappear. It's kind of weird. Like I just
Yeah.
I would
It's a
never do it.
sentient being, end of
Yeah,
the day, right? So
it's a me sentient being. It's like part of me.
If your job is that bad,
Just quit
who's
anyway.
to say the you at that work isn't just gonna end it all?
Oh, that
like
wait, no spoilers. I feel like that's like that might be happening later in the show. I don't know. That's just a hunch of
I
mine.
would. I mean, it feels like a logical conclusion for me, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know if that says anything about me or the show, but
Hey, I reached the same
like,
conclusion.
but by all means, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm getting philosophical here. Well, part of my enjoyment with working is, or I guess in just doing things, is finding enjoyment in the things that I do,
Yeah.
whether it is intrinsically enjoyable or not. Right? I like to find enjoyment in those things, and I feel like for me, obviously, I'm enjoying my work right now. And is that because the work itself is good, or is it because I'm ascribing something I enjoy to it? Right? Like I'm specifically picking out things I enjoy. Hard to say, but like I feel like that's just something that makes things more interesting. End of the day is just being able to like, yeah, oh, hey, introduce the person I like talking to, or of someone I wanted to meet or whatever. Not right. That makes it interesting to me, and I wouldn't want to miss out on those experiences because I feel like that makes me grow as a person. End of the day.
That's another really good point. I think I would be way more boring if I didn't like work. I don't know. Is
Yeah.
that like yeah.
Like I mean, I hate to say it. Now, a lot of conversations are like work related, right? Which
Oh God, you become
is
boring
the
in a
way that it
different way.
goes sometimes. But by all means, though, like it's if you want to boil it down, right, to something even more simple, it's kind of like asking that question of, would you want to go back in time to change something that you did?
Oh.
And I feel like for me, that kind of asks the same question as the show, right? Because
Ooh.
again, personally for me, the way you describe the show and just in general in life, right, when it comes to working, is the things that you do are always going to contribute to you growing as a person. And I feel like
Mhm.
skipping out on that is like saying, like, hey, here's all these mistakes you made as a kid. Go ahead and fix those. You have the chance to go back and fix all those. And it's like, okay, cool. If you did that, that completely changes who you are currently in this point in time.
Yeah, I didn't
Right.
know where you were going with that, but I totally agree.
Right. It makes sense once
Totally
once
agree.
you kind of put it all together, right? In the
Yeah.
sense of just like, yeah, a bunch of shit, like bad shit has happened in my life, but I would not change that whatsoever. Right. Because in my current moment, I appreciate who I am right now. And I know that only gets better, right? I cannot imagine who I'd be without the horrible things that have happened, kind of a thing.
Mm.
Right. And if that horrible thing is work, if you want to just boil it down to that, right? Yeah, who knows?
No, I definitely agree. It's like I would not trade any of my like less savory experiences in the past. And like maybe I've also led a privileged life, right? But like I personally would not trade any of those for like who I am today because I like who I am today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's like legitimately really, really important to me because I this thought has crossed my head a lot, right? As
Like
far
getting the
as like
procedure, the severance procedure done?
exactly, yeah. Like now that
Every
we have the
day.
technology to do that, I think it's a pretty cool thing. But
Just
do I really want to get those leg extensions of my leg to get 3 inches taller?
Oh my god. Dude,
You know,
it,
like
it,
it's also stuff like that too, right? If you want to boil it to even something as simple as like a cosmetic change, right? Like,
Mm.
yeah, it's just one of those things where like, I don't know, just be comfortable with who you are and appreciate why you are the way you are and who you are right now, right?
that's the
Like, you
most
don't have
Korean
to do
advice
things
I've
like
ever heard.
Would you get cosmetic surgery, Eric?
no.
No?
I mean, like, I don't know. In like some extreme circumstance where maybe a bear rips off half my face, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
probably get cosmetic surgery.
Right.
But as far as like, I don't know, like, do I want a bigger ass? I don't know, like, probably not. I
Yeah,
already struggle enough to get like my ass into my jeans right now.
dude, you do
Which,
need a bigger ass. That is true.
dude, honestly, I was sitting there last night just out of boredom. I looked at all the jeans that I don't wear, and I was like, I should try these out.
Oh boy.
I kind of regret it because a lot of them do not fit well anymore.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
boy.
Like, in which way?
My-
Too big, too small?
Little too tight.
Oh.
Little too
I
tight.
mean, that doesn't have as much to do with your ass as like your
No, it's my
waistline.
dump truck ass, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh, really?
That-
God damn.
I've been working out. What can I say?
Damn, what muscles you hitting? Glutes or
Yeah, sure.
sure
The stomach muscles.
Oh, that is
dude,
not
like-
where the ass is.
No, yeah, it legitimately by my once I get it up to waist, I'm like, I can't really move.
Oh no.
Now, granted, these are jeans I haven't worn since probably high school,
Sure.
but I don't think I've grown that much since high school. So take that as you will.
No, you
but-
you bulked up. You bulked up, obviously.
Yeah, yeah,
around
yeah,
your
yeah,
waistline.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
muscle. All muscle.
Yeah.
All muscle.
Dude.
But no, I would not probably ever get cosmetic surgery, especially if it's something like, I don't know, do you want to get taller? Like, I don't give a shit. I don't know. Like, at this point, I feel like height has been an issue maybe at most up until like mid high school. And then you
Hmm.
realize, like, damn, I'm short. Cool. And you kind of just move on with that shit, right? You realize, like, it does not, like, it's just what is what it is, right? Like, you literally can't change that. So you just learn to, like, deal with it. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I personally wouldn't, but, like, would you?
I don't know. I might. Like, there's literally nothing I can think of where I'm like, oh, I would love to get that worked on. But I mean, I feel like maybe at some point I would, but I just don't know what it would be for. I like. It doesn't give me an ick thinking about getting cosmetic surgery, right?
Arm extensions.
Yeah.
Bring that -2 up to a
Even-
+2,
Oh my
baby.
God.
Just even ape.
I don't know. I feel like you would do that, and then we'd be like, Luke, your arms are weirdly long. Like this is weird. Go back to being minus in the ape index.
Like,
Dude, yeah, they'll break and refuse my humeruses
Yeah. Ugh.
to make sure
gross.
I'm
how
neutral ape.
about this? What if you started rapidly losing your hair? How
this
much?
is this is a very interesting question.
I
Because-
would probably just go bald.
Would you grow a beard?
Well, the problem is I can't do that.
Ah.
Uh, debatable.
I mean, I could have a goatee and be bald. Then I'd just look like my uncle.
Oh no.
My mind's eye is very scared right now.
Good thing I can't visualize it.
I think it depends a lot on the technology and how good it is.
Mhm.
And also obviously like cost is a huge factor. Like if you factor out cost, like I say sure, why not?
Mhm.
Like I don't know. I think some people like shave their head and like want to try like the bald look and see how it goes. I think like when you lose your hair against your will, it kind of like sucks. And if there's like a reliable way to fix that and you want to fix that, I think that's fine.
And see, that's why a lot of people, they just shave it before they can lose it, kind of a thing, right? That because
Yeah.
it's kind of like the, you tell a joke about yourself, a self-deprecating joke before someone else can do it. Right? You beat them to the punch.
I
So
agree.
sometimes you
It's
just
like taking
make yourself
control
bald.
of the situation for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I always thought the bald look was good because as a kid, like I shit you not, I think elementary school to middle school was like, damn, what if I went bald?
Dude, you just look like Avatar Aang.
I think that was my thought.
Oh
at
my
the time.
god, dude, wait, I had that too, but differently. When I was a kid, this is like elementary school, like less than 5th grade. I went to the barber one time, like my kitty barber, and showed her a picture of like Conan from Case Closed, and was like, make me look like him. And the barber was just like, what the fuck is wrong with this child?
Oh
God.
shit. Oh god.
Oh,
Oh,
this
that
reminds
is
me
an
of the picture
image.
of the guy who like he's like edited a photo so it's him next to L from Death Note,
Oh
and
my
he's
God.
like, we look exact same.
I love that picture.
Dude, you have to send it to me later. But
spitting image.
it's just me and Conan instead. It's Child Teva and Conan.
Dude, like it's actually crazy to me. And there's something I do get self-conscious about, and it's straight the fact that some kids are so much more dripped out than I will ever be in my entire life. Like my friend from work, he has kids, and he sent a picture of his kid one time, and I looked and was like, damn, what the hell, man? Like this kid is so snazzy looking, here I am in like the same outfit every single day. And this kid's like completely dripped out in like sunglasses, a whole ass denim jacket. Like he looks so good.
When you say kid, like how old are you talking?
Dude, I'm talking about like 2 years old max.
What the?
Well,
Well, then
like
that's not the
is
kid.
manifesting themselves at that point.
That's not the kid. If it's high
Yeah,
school,
but he
like
rocks
maybe.
it. He rocks it. I could not.
You
like,
literally
you've seen
can.
Pictures, you've seen pictures of Knox. You've seen pictures of Knox with a scarf. You know, I cannot rock a scarf like that. My dog can rock a scarf better than I
Nobody
can.
rocks a scarf as well as a dog. I think this is an established fact. Like,
I don't know. I think you gave it to like our good old buddy who just came to visit us. I think he rocks a scarf like no one else. Like, yeah, it's sick. Knox, just I don't know. She's just better. She's just better than I am. I don't get it. And you know, I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna be forever just plain, and that's fine. That's okay. I'm okay with that.
we
But-
literally went over this the last episode. You figured out the solution to like looking good and being like
Mhm.
having some drip, and you
Mhm.
actively chose not to go with it.
Yeah, full leather jacket and a little bit of cologne.
Yeah, a little bit of
Yeah.
cologne.
A
Genius.
little bit.
No, I thought
Little
the wife
spritz.
beater look was pretty good though.
Oh
that was
my
your
God.
lowest point as a
That
human.
was. I still
That
think
was
it's
your lowest point. I was embarrassed on your behalf.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool, dude. Like, I just needed
really
some like
don't.
salsa stains on my shirt, and it would have been good to go.
Uh,
But
Oh
no,
my god.
honestly, it was really, really, really good to see our friend again. So I don't know how much we mentioned it, but our like best friend from like first grade, who was in San Diego with us, which you met,
yeah.
he came back to visit
the
us.
hurricane?
No, it's not.
No,
the
it's
hurricane.
not the hurricane.
No.
Okay. Oh. This I don't know a good name. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But he
Yeah,
did
yeah,
not
yeah.
come alone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh, he brought company.
In my
Yeah.
company, we mean his fiance.
His
Yeah,
fiance.
that's what I meant. That's what I was. Well, I didn't know fiance, but I assumed like his partner. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, yeah,
actually fiance, and he's actually the first one in our like close friend groups who we can say fiance. I've not had to say that word yet
I was gonna say
up until
that's-
now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucked up.
When's the wedding?
I don't like it. The age is coming up real fast.
That
But no, it's legitimately like I'm happy because how long have they known each other for?
Oh, at least. Hold on, doing the math. At least
Math.
8 years.
At least, right?
that's
It's been a
that's
hot
long
minute.
time.
Yeah,
it's
That's
so-
a
been
fair
while.
amount of time.
It's just really, really happy to see that because again, I mentioned before, is he's one of the friends where one of my biggest regrets in San Diego is just not hanging out with him enough when we had the
Mm.
opportunities to.
Yeah, we've talked about this. He
Mhm,
was
yeah,
great roommate, just always busy. This guy had
Yeah.
so much going on.
Yeah, people
Yeah,
have like,
like,
different
you-
things going on in their lives. Apparently, he's got a fiance going on in his life now.
yeah, exactly. And you know, hanging out with him is only gonna get much more difficult now.
Dude,
Ugh.
that's actually
Excuse
one
me.
of my not fear. Yeah, I'll say fears. It's also one of the reasons why I like want to start the podcast. I feel like so much has changed, and like everyone is transitioning to different stages of their life at like different times. Like compared to say something like undergrad and college, where like yeah, people go through like phases, but like everyone's still in college. It's like yeah, one of your best friends like maybe getting married, and it's like oh, I'm gonna see him so much less now potentially, maybe not, it depends. But
I mean, I don't. I mean, we weren't seeing him too much to begin with,
Mhm.
just because of where
that's
he was.
fair. That
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, kids is the definite nail in the coffin.
sure, yeah,
That's
No,
actually
It
yeah.
only is if you decide not to go over and help your friend with their kids.
which how's that like, Luke?
Oh boy.
Yeah, would you do it? Would you do it again?
Yeah, I've actually had a really good time. My
Yeah.
my sister had kids, and I went down to visit and help out last week. Last week, yeah. And I don't know. I've always known kids were a lot of work,
Yeah,
but there's a difference between knowing and experiencing. Um, so helping out. She had twins, so helping out with the twins was obviously like pretty much twice as much work as a normal baby, right?
Are they identical
Um,
or fraternal? Just curiosity.
Pretty sure they're identical.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it really made me, just in the same way as my sister getting married made me think about like marriage
The future,
in
yeah.
a different way. My sister having kids has also made me think about children in a different way. Because it's like, whoa, it's real. It's the thing that people really do.
This is what I like to call younger sibling privilege.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
nice to have like not, I don't want to say a test subject. That sounds wrong, but like, like a proto experience of it, like to get exposure to like what something you're like considering doing is like, right? Like,
Yeah, and I'm always very appreciative towards my sister for being the older sibling, because I know she did a lot of things first, and kind of had to like help my parents like figure out the parent-child relationship. And I definitely benefit from being the younger child and, not being in uncharted territory all the time.
yeah,
Um,
us
yeah.
older siblings and only children. Wow, it's rough out here.
If you're comfortable answering, how much older is your sister compared to you again?
5.5 years.
5.5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that, like, do you feel like you ever had a really, really close relationship with your sister as far as like sharing experiences goes, or do you feel like it was just a little out of reach as far as sharing some experiences?
Well, we definitely shared experiences just because we would always be on the same family trips. Um, but in terms of being like very close, that didn't happen until later. Like, I
Mhm.
don't think that really happened until I had graduated high school. Um, and oh gosh, I was gonna say something else and I forgot what it was.
I mean, to me that makes sense because like, and until the point where you're both like functional adults, like there's so much is different between a person who is 18 and like 13, and a lot is
Mhm.
different between a person who is like honestly 25 and 20 also, right? Like five
Yeah.
years is a big gap, but like once you get to the point where you're both like, the words I like to use, fully formed or like semi fully formed humans, I
Mhm.
think then you have a lot to relate about because all like you have so many shared experiences. You like grew up in the same family. You can always talk about your parents. Like, I think that's the point where like having a sibling like really starts paying off when you're both like good independent people.
You have a lot of wisdom on this subject for an only child, Teva.
Dude, I think it's because I'm an only child that I think about it more.
Was it like, have you wanted siblings growing up?
I would make a great older brother.
Apparently, you'd also make a great single father from what we heard.
Dude, it's the same skill set. That's all I'm. No, well, it's not. But I don't know. I just feel
Let's not
like
dissect that one.
I enjoy teaching and guiding and helping people. I think I derive a lot of like self value and like appreciation and confidence from doing stuff like that. And so I think being like an older sibling is, and again, it depends on the younger sibling. They might want nothing to do with you. That's totally fair. But I think like I have that like the like disposition to do that. I think also similarly, like in terms of like being like a single father, I've changed my tune. I think I would make an awful single father, but I would try my best.
Oh,
I would just be very confused, dude. Like this past weekend, a friend of mine is out of town, and so like a few of us here are helping take care of her cat. Like we're taking turns. And like just like going up to like a cat and being like, "What do you want from me?" has like blown away all my confidence in taking care of a child. It's
Was it?
like, yeah, go ahead.
Have you owned a pet before?
No.
No, right?
I've never
Yeah.
had a pet myself. And so like I'll just show up and be like, "Yeah, I'm here to feed you and like pet you and play with you." And then I'll be like petting the cat. I'll be like, "Wait, what do you want?" Like the cat will meow and I'll be like, "Oh, what does that mean?"
Cute.
Could you speak English? Like,
No, like,
yeah.
and honestly, yeah, kids not too different if we're being realistic.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing of like, damn,
It's a guessing
you're
game.
crying.
yeah.
It's
What is it?
That was a lot of the experience with the babies,
yeah.
because of course there was a bit of a routine going. They would wake up, we'd feed them, we'd change them, we'd play with them, and then like after a couple hours we'd put them back to sleep. But sometimes there'd be like this weird intermediate period where you're hanging out with the baby and they're like crying and you're like, okay, which one of these select options is like
Dude,
what's upsetting you? Do you need more food?
you
Do you
think
need to be changed? Are you sleepy? And then like, do you need more food but you're also like upset so you don't want to eat and so you're crying because of that even though I'm trying to feed you?
All of
dude,
the above.
I just had the
Yeah.
funniest thought. Do you think Melee players would make the greatest parents? Or
I don't
like,
know. Just ask Mango.
oh my
That
god, no, I'm sure they
immediately
would.
sounds like a big fat no to me.
I'm sure they would, but just the idea in my head of like baby crying and like a Melee player goes into like option select. Okay, it's like, all right, they're like slight DIing down, so that means I should probably like, I don't know. It's just funny in my head.
Yeah. I don't know. I had a good time. Thought I would be more scared or nervous the first time I held one of the babies, but
Oh yeah,
my sister just handed me the kid and was like, "Here you go." And I don't know, I didn't freak out. I was like, "Oh, that's a baby."
Did
dude,
you feel tempted
and
to
that was
touch the
that.
soft spot on their skull?
No.
God.
What?
What the? What? Damn.
Terrible parent.
I was gonna ask him a real question. You hit him with that.
Oh my
I mean,
god.
I don't know, dude. Sometimes you just look at like, huh? What if?
No,
What
man,
happens?
no, don't do that.
I will say it is weird how like people who like once you have a baby like you get used to holding them or whatever you're just like so like yeah people will figure it out. I feel like I also would be so scared to like hold a baby because I'm like what if I drop it or hold them wrong, like I don't know what I'm doing.
No, I feel like there's probably very few people who didn't get extremely nervous the first time they held a newborn, because it's just this thing of that's so frail and well frail. Like it's just nerve wracking because yeah, it's like this precious thing, right? Where it's
Yeah.
this just bundle of life, right? And you just sit there and you're like, damn, if I so much as sneeze, like that could like kill it, is what you kind of feel like. And I just remember the first time I held my niece,
Mm.
I was I was told to feed her, yeah, like with a bottle, and I was
Yeah.
sitting there like, yo, dude, don't just hand. What do I do? Like, I was just
Need
holding it like,
instructions.
Yeah.
please help me. I do not know what to do with this kid right now.
Instructions unclear.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
actually
No, like it's a nerve wracking experience, right? Especially because if no one teaches you these things, right? Like up until that point, like why would they? So yeah, you go into it with zero experiences beforehand.
I like had this short conversation with my sister where I was just like, isn't it wild how other mammals will have kids and the baby is just fully functional and running around? And my sister
my
was like,
God.
yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot.
you guys are related. Who goes yeah I've been thinking about that.
Someone who just had twins, I guess.
I guess. Yeah, I think like giraffes like are born and they just like walk, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
crazy.
a lot of animals just do.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then conversely, you have kangaroos, which are like born like omega tiny and like live in the pouch for like forever. I don't know the exact
Some
time.
amount of months, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh god, I forget the exact number, so I'm not gonna expound it. But
Y-
yeah, it's interesting how like different life cycles for different animals work. And again, your daily reminder that elephants have boobies. You're welcome.
Daily.
Thanks.
Daily.
Thanks.
Who am I
was hoping
reminding?
you'd
That's for you to
forget.
figure.
I was hoping you'd forget today, but clearly that didn't happen.
Teva, have you seen it? I'm sure I've shown you before.
No, I haven't seen it. I don't want
Please,
to.
no.
I'm not putting it in the video.
I mean, you maybe in your mind's eye just imagine it.
No, it's okay. I'm good.
It's a good thing you have slight aphantasia, Teva.
Yeah.
Like just on that quick, just to touch upon that topic, like where do you think the mammary glands for an elephant would be?
I was hoping you meant touch on the topic of aphantasia.
I would assume like my default would be same as other mammals, like below like the like stomach area,
Right.
like
It's
where
not.
cats or dogs are. Where is it in the trunk? Like where the fuck is it?
Well, okay, I wouldn't go that high up.
Oh, is it
It's
like
where-
a human? Is it where its pecs
It's
are?
like a human. Yeah, it's like where their like actual sternum would be.
Oh,
So it's just a really weird image when you see it. Because again, from like most four-legged land mammals, I would say that majority of the time, the mammary glands are like you would expect like a dog or a cat, typically
Yeah.
by their stomach, right?
Yeah.
It's not, and it's just a little unsettling to see. So I don't know. If you're curious, go ahead and Google that.
yeah.
Thank you, mammary expert.
welcome.
Elephant
be back next
boobies
week.
Reddit. See what you get.
Oh
God.
god.
Yeah, I just remember the first time I was seeing that. I was like, man, that's kind of odd. And I had to tell everyone, like my mother, about it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
now you know. Very good. I do love me some weird animal facts.
Mm,
Dude.
Which
yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say, have you guys seen that one channel? I think it's a Casual Geographic.
No.
Is
never
this
heard of
YouTube?
it.
It is actually YouTube. I don't know, maybe there's TikTok. I don't know. I don't TikTokers, but by all means, I just watch it on YouTube as well too. Basically, he's just someone who takes a lot of interesting animal facts and kind of makes it into a pretty entertaining little bit of media. And it just makes me miss a lot of my childhood joys of just perusing through zoo books. Or do you remember what they're called? Like the
Yeah,
zoo.
Zoo Books
Was it
is
Zoo
the
Books?
magazine, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I miss those days of just perusing through those. It was just a good time. Life
Dude,
is so simple then.
I forget what show. There's a show I used to like wake up to like during elementary school, and it would always be like this kid like learning about a certain type of animal. I don't remember what the show was, but
That
like
sounds really familiar.
I know. I think his name maybe it was like Stanley or something. I don't know, but like the only episode I remember is the platypus episode because they actually they
that's an
intro that
episode.
episode so cool. He like all the kids are like dressing up as like different animals, and he's like the last one to get his stuff, and he gets like a fucking like duck bill, a beaver tail, and like flippers, and he's like, "What the fuck am I?" Did they make a mistake? And then they teach you about like platypuses, and it's like, oh, this is kind of sick.
And as weird as you think platypuses are, they're a lot weirder than you actually think they are.
I think that's what the episode was trying to convey.
Probably. Like there's a lot of really weird things about that animal that just
Yeah.
should not exist, but they do. But yeah, cool animal.
Yeah,
Dude,
dude.
I don't know. The fact they're
this-
venomous as well too is always the most wild thing to me.
I know they lay eggs. See, I don't know if you've been like following as much of the stuff that's like been happening this weekend, but there's actually been like so many different like award shows recently. Have you guys like followed any of that?
I mean, it is
No.
award season. A lot
okay,
of the
Well, like there's
the-
so many.
yeah, there's always been a lot.
Really,
It culminates in the Oscars,
I feel
which
like
was this weekend.
it was this weekend. That's why I'm bringing it up. So I feel like it used to just be like there were the Oscars and like maybe the Emmys. And
what
now-
else is there?
There's also the Golden Globes. There's always been the Grammys.
Okay.
Is
all
the
right.
Critics' Choice Awards the same as the Golden
Oh
Globes?
my. Okay, this guy watches mainstream media. See, this is why you're lowest on the weeb scale, Luke. Okay, that's fair. I feel like the Oscars obviously always been like the biggest, and like I knew about the Emmys, so I assume it's important. But I feel like
There's
all
also
of a
the
sudden,
BAFTAs.
stop! He's overwhelming me with this general
People's
knowledge.
Are these all within
The
this
SAG
month?
awards. Not this month. I mean, it's a whole bunch of weekends at the beginning of the year that culminate in the Oscars, I think, or the Academy Awards.
Maybe I'm just noticing it because all of a sudden there's so many more like award shows that are being made in like domains and areas that I actually like know about.
Mm.
Like I feel like they have gone like they're still obviously like mainly like a movie like film thing, but I
Yeah.
feel like they have expanded like just like like I don't know if it was like a few weeks ago or a month ago there were like the anime awards, like obviously hosted by Crunchyroll or whatever. They like made it its own thing. You can anyone can make an award show now. There were the streamer awards, which is just like
Teva,
yeah.
when you were like, "There's so many more award shows now," my first thought was like, "Did they make an anime awards?"
Yeah. You're like this is why it's entered his
Yeah.
brain.
I'm
Yeah,
looking at it now
exactly.
because I was curious about this, right?
Yeah.
Like, what show would get Anime of the Year?
Yeah,
That's what got Anime of the Year?
it's surprising
What?
to
What got
anyone who.
anime of the year?
You haven't watched it.
Oh,
let me
what?
preface this by saying if anyone is following like anime or any of the anime awards, basically there were three big shows this year that like won almost all the awards, which was the Demon Slayer Entertainment District arc, the most recent season of Attack on Titan, and then Spy X Family. Those are like the three big shows that won most of the awards. But none of those shows actually won Anime of the Year. The show that won Anime of the Year is a show I recently watched called Cyberpunk Edgerunners. which is basically an anime set in the cyberpunk universe. It's basically like in collaboration with like CD Projekt Red, but it's like fully anime, and it's like a pretty sick show. I'm surprised it won Anime of the Year, to be honest.
I'm very surprised.
I don't think
in
it's
fact.
not like dessert. I think it's definitely in like contention for like top shows of the year.
This is why we need ranked choice voting in our anime awards.
What is a ranked choice? Oh, yes. Ranked choice vote. Do you want to explain what that is? Because it wasn't like immediately obvious to me.
It's where you, if no one gets a majority, I think. I can't explain it.
I'll shortcut it.
It's a throwaway joke, but now I'm being pressed.
You're being tested on it.
Now you're eating where you shit
words
or something.
It's basically like you have your vote, but you make a vote, like you put a list of your priorities, right? You have like a 1 through 5 of your votes, and if your 1 is like eliminated, it counts your 2. It's complicated, but but that's the main idea. You basically get to like place your vote based on your priority of how much you care about them. But yeah, and then this past weekend there was also like the streamer awards, which obviously is like a much smaller thing and just a space that I'm like aware of, but like still it feels like everyone, like there's the gamer awards, like everyone's doing award shows now. Like we should have an award show.
I was just about to say, when is the Teva and Friends podcast award?
We should do awards for our friends.
Oh, that'll surely be totally fine with no repercussions.
Who has the stinkiest poops?
I don't know how we would figure that out.
A blind test panel.
I thought you were going to say a blind
Double
taste
blind.
test, and I was like, no.
Well, I thought about it, and I was like, that might be a little too gross.
Yeah.
But if you're suggesting it, then I'm here for it.
No, I think it could be fun. I mean, obviously, with people's consent.
Can't wait to hand out Best Character Design at the Teva and Friends Awards.
Best character design. Oh, God.
Best voice actor.
Best voice actor.
English.
Oh my God. Friend of the year.
I wonder who's gonna get Best Voice Actor Portuguese.
Oh my God. Who could actually do that?
Honestly, are there 3 contenders for that?
3?
There might be 3.
I think it's just 1.
I can only think of 1.
There's at
also.
least 2.
Mm,
There's at least 2. There's at least 2.
I don't even know who the second is, so I don't know why I'm.
Well, I don't know if you know, but I have been taking language classes recently.
Really? For what?
No, not at all.
Oh.
I wish, honestly.
Dude, the way you said that, I was so excited for you.
No, I mean, I really do want to actually get back into learning Spanish. That's actually something that I would really, really like to, just because of 1, where we live, and 2, it's pretty useful. I want to flex when I order food at a restaurant. At the
do you
very
feel
least.
a love for the language?
I honestly do. I think it's actually a very pretty language for 1, compared to like Chinese at times.
Honestly, I feel the exact same way about Chinese. This is part of the reason I hated Chinese school. I think it was just the way like it was taught to me, but also the way like everyone talks to each other. Everything sounds like you're shouting.
And you are.
And you are.
I mean, you objectively are half the time.
Yeah.
Because you have a conversation with any Chinese like family member, and then someone else has to try to get their word in because there's no sense of respect. And then everyone's just talking over each other until it becomes an actual like shouting match. It's just how it goes.
Dude,
it's really fun.
This just reminds me of when our friend was in town. We got dinner with him and his fiance, and then we got dessert. And we were at a Asian dessert place, and someone mentioned the John Cena Bing Chiling meme, and our friend just became activated like some sort of sleeper agent, like belted out the entire thing.
What?
You can see his eyes just immediately light up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
He said the
What
code
is
word.
happening?
Why? In public?
In public too.
Oh, no.
It just starts going off from there. I'm like, oh my God. It's honestly, it was so funny. I've never seen him just light up like that in my entire like years of knowing him. It was so impressive.
It was really funny.
It's always funny when you have a very reserved friend and just like you see the thing that like makes them go off and you're like, oh my God.
I can't believe it was John Cena saying Bing Chiling.
I mean,
There's-
like legitimately, that's how he's been. Right? He's always been kind of more of a quiet person, but everything that comes out of his mouth is always a gem, without fail.
Dude, he doesn't
Remember when
speak
it was my
often.
birthday and he texted the group chat, "Happy birthday, Eric. Time's almost up."
What?
That made my birthday. Just seeing that, legitimately fantastic.
Oh my god.
my
it's
I
so
love
God.
being
funny.
reminded of my mortality.
That's awful. Like in a good way.
No, it really it makes me appreciate it more. And I guess this kind of I feel like we mentioned this previously, but kind of the idea of just like even if you don't see them for a while, it's really nice to just pick back up exactly where you left off. And it's
Yeah,
just nice. It's
totally.
really sweet. Like distance makes the heart grow fonder or something along those lines.
I yeah. I don't know if it's in that context, but
When you think about it.
I guess I see that. I agree. I feel like there are friends I have that I feel like we just have different things going on in our lives, and it's always like nice to catch up and talk to them. But like the reality is, even if I had to spend like a whole like every day with them, like I feel like we would run out of stuff to like do pretty quickly. Like it's like a good friendship that works when we like catch up every now and then because we're both just like doing different things and we like care about
Mhm.
each other. But it's not like we have enough shared interests or activities to do like all the time. For me personally, I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm just like I know with some friends like, oh, I feel like I could like talk with them like multiple times a week, like regularly and always have things to say. And others it's just like, if we saw each other every day, things would get quiet pretty quickly. And that's okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel that definitely. And that's where I feel like I don't know, relationships are sometimes along the same line as well too, right? Like sometimes you don't have to like have something to talk about all the time, right? Sometimes it's just nice to have company.
Right?
Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that involved, right? Sometimes it's just nice to just chill and hang out. Like we were talking about this last time around with I think this before you came into the call, but we were talking with friends of like what do most people do on their daily basis like as for fun, right? Because I know for us like we have very clear interests as far as what we enjoy doing, right? Sometimes it's playing games, anime.
Damn, summed up
We're really
some
interesting
summed me
people.
up in 2 words. I mean, yeah, there's a mix of things. It depends. Yeah, games,
Right,
shows, animes, talking with friends, doing activities, the like. Yeah,
right. And we were saying like what do like normal people do?
you
Because
are
I remember
normal.
They watch TV. They watch TV shows. That isn't. They watch sports. It's normal
that's
person
I
activities.
feel like that's
Go
the
out
big
to eat.
one, right?
Think how much
Yeah.
time you spend on YouTube. That's most people.
Yeah, my brother-in-law is a pretty normal guy. He'll watch shows. I mean he plays video games.
But see, I feel like if you play video games like that,
No,
you're a gamer.
no,
And
Not true.
that's just not true.
That's not true.
no,
Like,
like
like are
that,
I know you think gamers are the most depressed people on the planet, Eric, but it's just not true.
it's weebs. I'm just kidding. No, that's not true.
Dude,
They don't deserve rights.
I
But
don't know.
in any case,
I
it's just
mean,
it was something I always wondered, right? It's just like there's some people like I don't know, like sometimes all they need to do is just like legitimately just hang out and like eat. And honestly, I'm kind of game for that. But I still feel like I want to do more active things personally. But yeah, I don't know. Like everyone just has like a very very sense of like different enjoyment sometimes, and sometimes it's simple, and I kind of envy that at times. Like
I mean, you could live that same life.
I think it is much simpler when you're on the outside looking in and don't have their own, like if someone just watched you live your life, they would probably be like, oh, you live such a simple peaceful life and that's so nice. I think it is when you get the internal state and like the internal ideas that go through the person and they're like, oh, that's so nice. They're so content just watching like YouTube for a few hours, chilling and then going to bed, and they're like, I'm so bored and doing nothing with my life. You know what I mean? Like I
and
think yeah.
I don't know. Because there's people who are content with that, right? And that's where I kind of envy to in a sense. I know for me, it's difficult to like sit still, right? That would what you were describing. That's me for sure, right? Like, damn,
Yeah.
I did like nothing all day, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I wish I could be content with just that at times.
I At a point, I realized some days I just need to do nothing all day.
And honestly, I think that's actually like really, really important. Is some days is actually just doing nothing.
Yeah, like there was a period of time where I'm like, wow, sometimes I'm just like kind of wasting my time. I'm just staying home, not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then I realized that days like that help me feel like a normal person the rest of the week, you know?
I agree. I think as I have gotten older and like low key, I feel like my attention span has gotten potentially even like shorter. Like those days I need fewer and far between, if that makes sense. Like I totally agree. It's nice to have a rest day where you just don't do anything. But like I feel like it's kind of good by the end of the rest day where I didn't do anything. I'm like, I want to do something. Like I want to see someone. I want to like talk or do an activity. But it's also I agree. It's not like wasted time necessarily. I mean, sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't.
Right.
For example,
Eric, when you talk about
no, you go first. You go first.
Eric, when you talk about like being active and doing more, what kind of things would you want to be doing?
I don't know. Sometimes it's work.
Dude, what is wrong with you?
Okay, in my defense, the recent Teva,
yeah,
we were supposed to go on a trip to Tahoe this weekend,
right?
Past weekend, but as you know, that didn't happen because the weather in Tahoe was completely insane. There was way too much snow. I'm not comfortable driving in the snow, so we kind of opted to, for safety reasons, not go.
Yeah,
and we might have gone stranded.
Last we had talked about it on the pod. It was a maybe, and it did not happen.
Yeah,
right. So we instead opted at the beginning of last week to say like, okay, let's just go hang out in, let's say, like Monterey or something like that.
Oh, sure.
And we kind of figured out, okay, look, let's book a B&B and everything like that. However, there was just an issue where that B&B was booked the morning of the previous day, and there was an issue with the booking. So we're like, oh, sorry, that booking doesn't work anymore. We're actually booked out. And because there's a 24-hour time period for B&B, we couldn't book anything because it was already the day before.
I see.
And so what ended up happening is I took PTO for Friday, and I just sat at home doing nothing.
Oh, no.
And I would have just rather worked that day at that point.
I mean, I get that, but for me, I mean, maybe it's different for you. For me, I would have rather worked than taking the PTO. Like, if I could have gotten that day off free and not used the PTO, then I would pick that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%, and that's kind of the thing that sucks the most. Is like, damn, I had to take PTO for just a day to do absolutely nothing. Which, you know, at the same on the on the other side of that coin, I still enjoyed it of just being able to sleep and do nothing, because I think I still needed the day to recuperate because I was mentally prepared for not doing anything. You know,
this is a question I have, and maybe I mentioned this before on the pod. I'm not sure, but like, that's kind of an interesting idea, right? Like, you've already taken the day off. Like, what do you think? Because I feel like for me, I'm really bad at doing stuff if I don't have people to do it with. Like, what do you imagine, like, your ideal, like, self-care, like, do stuff for yourself day looks like?
I mean, on that specific day, I was really close to just see if I could go to Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Like, on your own?
Just on my own.
Yeah.
Like, that's a place that, I haven't been back to in a while. And I still really want to go back. There was like just a slight motivation issue that day, and I was like, maybe not. But I don't know. Legitimately, for me, like eating out at a restaurant by myself, like that's kind of self-care to me. I really, really enjoy just enjoying a meal.
Yeah.
Not having like putting earphones in, just not bothering, like not being bothered by anyone, just enjoying a meal. And that's why that one time I wanted to spend like $260 on a fancy meal by myself. But it's hard to justify. But yeah, for me, eating, because I do enjoy eating a lot.
When you say like a self-care day, I think that depends on the context, right? Mm-hmm. If it's a week where I've been super busy and I'm taking a self-care day to like rest, for me, resting looks like just staying in bed late, taking the day easy.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a few chores around the house just so I feel like I've done something with my time. Which is to me personally like pretty important.
No, I get that for sure.
Reading, watching YouTube, maybe playing video games, chilling out.
Just like chill, fun activity.
Yeah, exactly. But if it's a weekend and I'm like, oh, I want to go do something and be active, it might be, well, probably.
Don't say
climbing.
it. Don't say it.
Yeah,
I knew you were gonna say
word. climbing,
So
doing something outdoors, but also just going to a coffee shop
Mm.
and reading there or planning my week there. That kind of time makes me feel good.
so
And I like the energy of being around other people without necessarily having to like conversate all the time, you know?
Oh, I get
question:
that. Yeah.
do
Yeah.
you think that self care means that you have to do something by yourself?
No, I don't.
Uh,
But I
yeah.
think I was posed the question of like you have a day all to yourself, but you have to like spend it by yourself. Like you can't make plans with other people. What do you do for that day like
Hmm.
as a fun day? Like whereas cuz for me I feel like a lot of times on like my days off, like if I want to do something that is not in the like very narrow box of like comfort zone of like, oh, let me just play video games all day or like watch YouTube videos or like do regular stuff. Like what if you had to like plan a fun day just for yourself, right? Because I think I like doing that, but most of the time I do it with other people. So I was just kind of
Hmm.
thinking like, huh,
Mm.
what would I do like if I had to like do stuff for myself? Because unlike Eric, I feel like I'm pretty bad about like going out to eat like on my own. I'm pretty bad at like going out and exploring like on my own. And so it was
Mm.
an
Hmm.
interesting thought experiment for me where I think I would just have to plan the day like I'm doing it with someone else and just do it all on my own.
Right, because that's kind of why I asked, because I know for me, when I think of the word self care, for me intrinsically that just means that like I am by myself doing stuff with me, myself, and I.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
no one else
Totally.
is involved with that, right?
I
Yeah.
think you can definitely like self-care also involves like being social. Like I think, we're not all 100% introverts or 100% extroverts, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a balance, but I agree that that's kind of like what I think of too is like
Mm-hmm.
doing stuff for yourself kind of by yourself.
Right. Like, and I don't know. I realize now maybe it's not a self care thing. Who knows? But the thing I do when I do want like a self care day, what I end up doing is sometimes just listening to a bunch of music and like cleaning. Either that, or it's like I always want to be productive. I don't know. Maybe this is not self care, but I like to be productive. Like either practicing my instruments,
Mm.
uh, like training my dogs, or cleaning the house. I don't know. It's all like I want to be productive as much as possible because I think maybe the self care parts come from like a sense of achievement, and maybe that's a bad thing.
No,
I don't know.
I think that can work. Like I don't think it's inherently like a bad thing. Like I think it kind of harkens back to what Luke was saying where it kind of feels like, sometimes doing chores or like small little tasks that you've been putting off like kind of checks the boxes of your mind of like, look, I did something like productive today.
Right.
It,
Right.
like eases your conscience.
But is that what a self care day should be though?
I
I
mean, if it gets the job done for you, then then yeah.
It can be whatever you want it to be, but I also like I lean more towards like yes, that's important for self-care for sure. Like you obviously want to maintain like your living space and like the things around your life, but I am thinking more of like doing something like nice for yourself, like treating yourself rather than maintaining your living conditions
Hmm.
in my
Maybe I don't do self care.
I mean, I think a lot of
Like
people don't.
I think the other thing that I do is just sleep. I literally just like lay on the post up on my couch, like call some dogs over, and just knock out for a few hours. I don't know. Those are nice. Those are nice days. Sometimes I think those are the days where it's just like, yeah, just do nothing. Like
I
the
think
complete opposite, right? It's just do nothing and kind of enjoy.
I think that can be like super nice too.
Yeah, and I do
Yeah.
like those days.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I get older, sleep kind of cool. I like sleep a lot now, and I don't know if I like that fact anymore.
I mean,
But it is what it is.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think, dude, it's like I could be completely wrong here, but like like the like how in Spain there's like the siesta, right? Like in
Yeah.
certain regions of Spain, that's like built into the workday. Like it's like, oh, it's siesta hour. Like, hey, it's the middle of the day, it's hot, it's unpleasant. Let's just go home and like chill and take a nap. Normalize
God, I
midday
wish,
naps, dude.
dude. Honestly,
Yeah, it's so necessary. I feel like, especially like after lunch, like I'll just eat and I'll be like, I'm not ready to go
mm,
back to work. I'm like digesting. I'm sleepy. Let me take like at least like a 15-minute nap.
yeah. It's really that nap right after the food. Mm,
It just
mm.
hits.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
I like,
yeah.
especially when you lay on that couch. The moment my head hits that couch, it's out. I'm out. I'm gone. There is no saving it. I'll wake back up like from lunchtime. I'll wake back up until like 7 sometimes.
What?
I
Hold on.
was not kidding
You
when I
had me in
said
the first half.
I was not kidding when I said like I would be knocked out for some non-disclosed amount of hours. It's it's pretty nuts sometimes, and that's the self-care that we need sometimes. It's just just sleep.
Fair
Sleep is
enough.
good. No. I don't know. Like I think end of the day, yeah.
I
I
I
just want to enjoy things, and sometimes it's like the little things.
I have a related question. Do you guys feel like you're like very in touch with like your emotions and your like emotional state?
Mm,
Like in what sense?
Yeah, I kind of left the question vague on purpose to see where you'd like go.
I
Because
feel like, yeah, I am more so now than I was when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well,
I don't exactly know when it changed.
yeah.
Um,
Like when did my brain
maybe it was.
develop?
Yeah, I think maybe it's just a maturity and brain development sort of thing. But yeah, and there's also like a certain degree of trying not to logic away your emotions entirely and just being okay with feelings things.
so
Ooh, that's very
I'm
deep.
glad
Yes.
you bring this up because there was it was one of those like doom scrolly kind of days on Twitter. But there was actually I've never felt so seen from like a single tweet in my life. And it's pretty much one that was discussing this idea of intellectualizing your emotions is not necessarily a good thing,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Rationalizing what you're feeling, especially when it comes to things like trauma and like really bad experiences, it's not really a good thing. Like, oh man, like just say for instance, like, oh, this was a really traumatic experience. I'm really feeling stressed because of this. This particular incident, the way that this person said this thing made me feel kind of bad. But it is what like it kind of goes into that. It is what it is. Like I'm rationalizing it, and that's why, right? Like sometimes you take solace in this idea of rationalizing your emotions, but this entire post is basically saying like sometimes you shouldn't be doing that. Sometimes things that are like traumatic should just be felt. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more. I think I may have seen the same tweet, and it's like the idea that you shouldn't process your emotions and then feel like you're done with them. You should let yourself sit with your feelings and like really think about them instead of like trying to explain them. You know?
Yeah. And
Yeah, processing them instead of explaining them away, and then like folding them up and putting them in a zip file and sticking that somewhere in your memory hard drive.
just like, clap, like shake your hands off, done, done
Yeah,
deal,
figured
right?
it out. Done with the feeling, you know?
Yeah. So the reason I felt really seen for it is because I do that a lot, a whole hell of a lot. And I only realize sometimes when I'm extremely stressed, and this is kind of that feeling thing. I remember one time I was walking down the uh library walk, right? And I believe it was finals week. And there was just some nice chalk message on the floor. And one of those chalk messages straight up said, I think everything will be okay. And I like burst out crying.
Oh my god. Oh my
And it's just
goodness.
one of those,
Like
it
from
was
a
legitimately,
movie.
no, like legitimately,
Yeah.
like that was the moment I was like, damn, I'm probably stressed and I'm probably packaging a lot of these things away and kind of just leaving them there. And I was like, that was like a pretty eye-opening moment. I was like, damn, I'm not okay.
Dude.
So yeah,
Mhm.
it's just one of those things where yeah, like I realized that, and like even to like a smaller extent, when I listen to, I mentioned I like generally when I listen to music, I have very like emotional connection to it. And sometimes you just feel that music, and sometimes like emotion, like I get really emotional with certain music, right? Whether it's like a meaning thing or sometimes it's just like even listening to something like Gusty Garden Galaxy from like Super Mario Galaxy. Like that track, one really, really good track. But two, there are for me at least very like emotional points within the song where sometimes like emotion wells up. I'm like, oh, I just tapped the shit on my mic. But that's where sometimes I don't know how much that was.
I don't know
there.
why I thought that flowed right into your emotional thought. I was like, that didn't track.
But yeah, so that's like sometimes that it feels really cathartic, and catharsis works, as Luke I'm sure will tell you.
No, it
But
doesn't work.
Oh, interesting.
but like sometimes it's very cathartic to just let your emotions pour out, especially when you're just listening to music or something like that. Like for no apparent reason or anything like that. It just feels good. For me at least, right? And maybe that's part of that process of like, damn, I rationalize a lot of my emotions. And that's kind of my way of just letting those emotions back out, just feeling things and kind of relating back to some of the things that have made me either sad, angry, whatever not, and just having the music kind of bring that back out for me at least. So I realized that, yeah, and kind of growing up, and that between itself, yeah, that really, really made me feel seen. I was like, shit, I've been doing this for a large part of my life, and it's
Yeah.
probably not a good thing.
For me, I think one of the things that like really is like an important like realization and like takeaway in terms of like emotional awareness is it is like very okay to not understand why you feel the way you do. I think it's actually important to realize you don't understand why you're feeling the way you do, because that leads to this process you're talking about of like actually thinking, actually considering, and like going through your emotions. Because I think rationalization is like super quick, right? Like, oh, I'm sad because of this. Oh, like, oh, I'm a little upset because of this. Like, it's very like quick, and you just like you say, package up your emotions and get rid of them. Essentially, like you toss them to the side because you're like, oh, it's just this, it'll go away. And it's not just that, right? And I think part of being like, wow, this is making me feel this way, and then taking that extra like second or extra step to be like, I don't know why it's making me feel this way. Like, I think that's like super okay, because that's like the path to understanding why you feel the way you do, right? And understanding like where you're coming from emotionally. I'm not gonna lie, I brought this up because I've started crying over movies way more.
Last of Us really improved.
Last of
didn't
Us is not a movie. No, as a kid, like pre high school era Teva, cried at nothing. Like literally, you could imagine the saddest scene. Like I don't know, like someone like mother's like dying, her kids are there, like anything. High school Teva's like I don't give a shit. It's whatever. But I feel like now like I like cry so easily in movies, and not maybe not like bawl my eyes out, but like at least tear or well up or like get a little choked up. Like watching the simplest things. Like, dude, I watched the Demon Slayer movie like 2 weeks ago, and I was like welling up with emotion because of how fucking sick the animation was.
Ooh.
I was just like, dude, this is so well animated. This is so like artistically well done. It's like beautiful that like some people like made this, and it's like enough to like make me like well up. That's all it took.
Yeah, I think I've definitely noticed too, as I've gotten older, I've been more okay with feeling feelings about media.
Yeah.
And I think when I was younger, like even in middle school and high school, there was a deliberate choice to be like, no, I'm not going to cry.
Yeah.
This isn't making me feel things. I remember feeling that way, like in the movies with my family. I'm like, no, I can't cry at this. That's not who I am.
Dude.
But nowadays, like, if something's really well done, then sometimes it'll make me feel. There's this one part, one that comes to mind now. Hold on.
He's
He's
searching.
just been drinking too much soy milk.
I'm searching.
Jesus. Yeah.
Silly boys.
So what was that about not processing your emotions, Eric? Like
No, while you kind of try to remember that, I know that's something where like I
remember it.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, there's a manga and then anime called Ping Pong. And there's a moment that really choked me up, which was, I think it was the chapter. The chapter was called Butterfly Joe.
Ooh.
And it was about the main character's coach's basically his last tournament. And kind of how things didn't go the way that they would have wanted, the way that he would have wanted them to go.
Right.
And that made me emotional.
Dude, I think if I watched Ping Pong like relatively early, like it was early on in like college, I think when I watched it. I think if I watched it today, I would definitely like tear up and like choke up and cry probably.
And
but I
the
didn't at the time.
soundtrack adds a lot to it as well.
Yeah.
Too. The
Yeah.
soundtrack in particular is huge for me, at least. But no, like I think like I just today finished Vagabond.
Oh,
I say
wow.
finished,
What?
caught up. Haha.
How do you
Because
finish it that soon?
wait, what do you mean finish it that soon? I feel like it's been like weeks.
Oh,
Normally I finish
maybe.
things a lot faster.
That's fair. It's a lot of
This is
chapters.
why you're the biggest weeb in the group.
Well, I told you I specifically told myself to not read it at home so I could do something at work.
How long did it take you to like finish it? Like, do you know, like from start to finish? Like how much like how many days? Just
Hard to say in like an actual sense because I started a few weeks back. I'm sure if we
okay. So
dug up in
within
our,
a month, you finished it, basically.
probably.
Okay, just checking.
If not even a little longer than mine. It may have been 2 months actually. It may have
Sure.
been 2 months. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably one of the longest times it's ever taken me to finish something just because I wasn't reading it at home.
Right.
But I really enjoyed that. I mean, especially towards the end, like I said, I mentioned in chat earlier, but the actual farming end where you get this big emotional payoff for actual character progression and how a character is feeling. That was like I always dude, I teared up multiple times at work just like reading some of the things, obviously. Like obviously there's like the generally sad things, right? Like someone passed away, that's sad. But this there was like an emotional payoff to this idea of like, damn, he's actually experiencing growth. And like that is like pretty big to me, right? Like I think and I've said this before, the biggest emotional payoff I think that I've had in any show, and I can probably confidently say this, is probably just from Mob Psycho 2.
Sure.
When, you know, Reagan and Mob are talking at one point, and it's the end of the episode. Well, obviously the song's hitting as well too, but there's kind of this reconciliation between, you know, him and his master. And after everything that's bad that's happened with the master, students like, hey, I know everything that's been going on, but you're just a good guy. And that hits so hard. That hits so incredibly hard because it's just this emotional payoff of, damn, regardless of whatever someone's been through, you still see like the good that they've done and how they've treated you. Everything that, you know. And maybe that's not the best message to take away as far as that particular thing, but good payoff.
I can tell you my interpretation of that was just like how rewarding it is to like have nurtured and like raised someone and to like see them recognize you for your efforts, even if you feel like you're like a complete shit show in all your other aspects of life. Like this one thing that you've done, like making a real difference and impact on another human, is like very rewarding and profound. That's all to say, watch Mob Psycho 100 if you haven't, if you like anime. It's a great show. Could have been like anime of the year in my opinion. Like it's so good.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna. No, you go first. You go first.
All right. I realized I think part of the reason why it also has a big impact on me just because during that, I think it was around that time. I remember just talking to my mom, just something really casual, and I was just talking about my Legos because I really like the Legos were a huge.
Oh, it comes back to Legos.
Part of my childhood, like legitimately a massive part of my childhood, and I was just talking to my mom about it, and I was like, yeah, you know, I had a really, really good childhood, like, thanks to you. And, like, she, like, got really emotional about that. And it was something I realized, like, yeah, kind of a similar thing, right? Obviously, we mentioned before, like, being a parent is one of the most difficult jobs out there, and no one's going to be perfect with that. Like, it's a hard job. I don't knock people for being bad parents unless you're, like, verbally or physically abusive.
I knock people for being bad parents in certain senses, yeah.
Right. Obviously, there's like very, very bad parents.
Even before it comes to abuse, I still think you can be like a bad parent.
You can be an objectively horrible parent, but in a lot of cases, people are doing their damn best, and it's not easy. It's like a difficult job, right? Because you're trying to break the mold of being your parents, basically, right? And in a lot of cases, yeah, like our parents weren't perfect parents either. I'd be shocked if someone was, right?
What I
so
like
a lot
to
of cases,
say,
it's about breaking emotional and generational traumas from that.
Well. What I like to say is you don't make your parents' mistakes, you make other mistakes.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So I just realized, yeah, that was like a really, really big thing for my mom to hear. Just something as simple as, man, I had a good childhood. Like, I realized for her, that was like a really, really, really gratifying thing to hear. And like it was very clear to me at that moment when I said it, how emotional I got, like how much that meant. And that was, I don't know, it was kind of eye-opening for me at least.
I mean,
you know,
you don't probably think about it, and I can't speak for like everyone's parents, and everyone's parents will like express it and think about it differently, but like you are like such a massive part of your parents' world. Like you're like their hopes, dreams, and aspirations are all bundled into you, like in a sense, right? Like
For better or for worse.
for better or
really.
for worse.
Yeah.
But like it's something that I definitely like think about and appreciate in the sense that like, you know, this is what I mean by, I think to be a good parent, all you have to do is like genuinely care about your child, and I think that makes you a good parent.
Like I think I'm inclined to agree on that,
Yeah.
honestly. Because like, what else are you gonna do, right?
Like obviously
Like,
there's
the
things
very
you could do better, but
but like the very minimum, regardless of circumstance, right,
Yeah.
is care about your kid. Because once you do care about your kid, you're going to go to the ends of the earth to make sure that you care for them, you know, in like a more objective sense, right? And I feel like, yeah, it like intention's a big part of that, right? Because yeah, like the bad parents, they just don't give a shit in my eyes,
yeah, I mean,
and that's where it's awful.
I think it is like that simple. That being said, you can make like not objectively, but like pretty like objectively like bad parenting decisions while caring about your kid. It's like not their fault, but it's just like, you know, you can make poor choices. I think a
Oh,
lot of my
100%, right.
friends who had like immigrant Asian parents like have suffered from certain decisions that their parents have made that like still come up regularly to this day.
Mm-hmm. Like,
Yeah.
did you like? I do want to piggyback off of that thought, but was there something you want to mention before that gets lost?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, okay. So I mention this the most recent album of Young the Giant. Do you guys remember if I talked about it on?
You
No,
definitely
yeah,
have
I don't
not.
think so, right? I brought it
Yeah,
up
I
with
don't-
people
yeah.
before at this point.
Yeah.
But this was an album. So Young the Giant, one of my favorite bands, and it's been one of our favorite bands as a group for a while now. Excluding Teva, just our kind of group from home.
What excluding that? Wow, one of
Yeah.
our favorite.
Oh,
bands.
Teva, what's
the
your
Giant.
favorite Young the Giant song, buddy?
I really like the one where he's like, "Wow, I can't wait for this cough syrup to go down."
Hey, good song, good choice. No, but basically, Young the Giant is kind of more of an like alternative indie rock kind of a band. I'm sure I'm throwing buzzwords out there, but in
I
any
think
case,
indie rock is not that. I think people should know what indie rock is.
well, it's like alternative is it really a thing, but that's all technicalities at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the newest album is called American Bollywood, and what it really reflects on is basically his experiences as an Indian American immigrant. And the first song, the titular song of the album, is one that I think is a fantastic song. Like, really hit me because it, for one, as I mentioned, kind of talks about that immigrant experience, like second generation immigrant. Your parents came here from, you know, whatever country. You're the kid growing up in that stead, right? And one of the things there, one of the pieces of imagery is there's a line in the music video in particular. There's a line in the song that goes, "Loving you is so hard," or "Life is so hard, but loving you is so easy." All right, or "Life is so hard living, but loving you so easy." And in that
Okay.
exact moment, the first time that line pops up is basically a small video of his, and like old, you know, video recorded footage of his mom stroking his head as a kid, like infant toddler. And with that line of "life is so hard," or, you know, "living is so hard, or whatever not, and loving you so
Yeah.
easy," that I choked. I was not even choked. I was bawling. I was bawling at my desk when I first saw the music video, because I just feel like for a lot of immigrant parents, yeah, that's kind of that same experience of like, damn, life fucking sucks, but the most that you can do is provide a better life for your kids. End of the day, you know?
I think for the most part, they like objectively succeeded.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like, end of the day, it's like they went through hell and back, a lot of these parents, right? And again, were they perfect parents? Probably not, because there's a lot of generational trauma that comes from being that first or second generation,
Yeah.
you know, right? And it's funny because in that same album, there's a song called "I Bite." And this song, guess what it's about? It's about basically his relationship with kind of that immigrant dad, that kind of emotionally unavailable immigrant dad. And one of the lines, or there's basically one line that's kind of changed a little bit in the second verse. That first line basically says, let me dig it up real quick just so I don't like
For
butcher
sure.
it.
While you're searching
yeah.
this up, I'm just gonna fill and say that that is one of my favorite things in like media and like especially music, when they take like, or like in a musical specifically, like they take a song and then they like reprise it but like in different contexts, or they'll like
Oh, I
say
love it.
things one in like one song and it'll like be happy, and then they'll say it again like the same exact words, but sadly, and it like has a completely different meaning and like context.
I'm a
And
huge sucker for
and like this is
reprisals.
big, like this is a big thing in like something like there's a musical that was big a few years ago, Dear Evan Hansen, where it's basically like kid with depression, no friends, breaks his arm, and like he basically like opens up the musical with like a happy song about how he's like waving through a window, and but it's like very upbeat and happy. He's like, I'm scared to like even like turn the key before I start the car, haha. But it's like all very jovial, and then like the real big emotional payoff where he's basically like apologizing for everything he's done. He like says the exact same things, but it's like heart wrenching. It's like so different in tone and mood, and I love that. Which sounds like there was a change in the verses from the Young the Giant song.
Yes.
If you found those,
I did. So basically, in the first half of the song, he's talking to his dad, kind of a thing, right? And one of the lines, kind of one of the main verses, is "Love is unconditional under the right conditions," which in itself, that line,
those are bars.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's
Damn.
bars right there.
That one hits. But basically, immediately after that is, again, he's talking to his father. "You were always strong for me, even when I needed weakness." Which,
Ooh,
damn, that also hits.
wait, these are such good lines.
But
These are bars.
second verse, he's basically explaining the fact that he's a father now, and under the guise of his perspective, talking to his son, it reprises the same line: "Love isn't conditional under the right conditions. I'll always be strong for you, even when I show my weakness."
Ooh.
Because he's learned from his father that essentially you grew up with that machismo father who, you know, had to have that front of, I can't show weakness, I have to be strong for my kids, right? But as we kind of, a lot of us, I'm sure, have also learned that's not the best thing, right?
This is very toxic masculinity.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, right? And to kind of have that just simply reprised in that second verse, but just changed because he's telling the son, and it's kind of what he's learned. I was like, damn, this entire song is just immigrant struggles.
Dude.
I was like, holy shit.
I mean, it is, but I don't know. I think it's so profoundly rewarding to see someone like make those connections and like those like have those thoughts come to fruition of like, hey, this is what like my like parents or dad did like wrong for me, and this is like I think the way to like fix it and do it better. Which,
yeah, and that's why, like I said, even if you aren't a fan of that kind of music, I think it's still worth a listen. Because one, just nerding out a little bit, I think the album is one of the best albums musically in a sense, because one, it's very creative in what they do. One of my favorite things is that they actually blend a mix of Indian instruments with guitar and your standard like alt rock. So it's this really cool interplay between two different cultures, kind of like being an American, you know, Indian immigrant in his particular case. So that was really, really cool to kind of see that. And the instruments play so well. And also, yeah, just the layering and everything of that, like the harmony of it. It's just a really, 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 really good album. And again, even if the music isn't your kind of music, if you are at all an immigrant child, like second generation in particular, I would just give the album a listen. In particular, like I said, American Bollywood is the titular song of the album and the album name. And I Bite. Those are the two that I mentioned, and I think they're really, really worth that listen. Really love these songs to death.
Dude, I love how this
Rant over.
episode. No, this is great. We have given our we have changed the game. We're giving our viewers homework. Like, hey, have you watched Ping Pong the animation, Mob Psycho the Demon Slayer movie? Have you listened to this new Young the Giant album? No, well then you can't listen to us. Like, or
I would say read Ping Pong. The
fair.
the anime is really good from what I've heard, but the manga is also like amazing.
Having them both very good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so go for it.
I was just gonna say, I as someone who's only watched the anime, I'm sure they were both good. The anime is very like stylistic and different, which can be like very cool.
Or ugly, depending on who you ask.
I mean, I think it's kind of ugly, but I think it works for the show.
The
source material.
manga is also the source material is also kind of
ugly.
Shit's ugly, dude. But it's ugly, but it hits.
Yeah. The use of like just pure black on panels, because there's not really a lot of shading. If I'm remembering the way it was, the manga shaded. It's either black, gray, or white. There's not really any gradients, or there's not as many as there are in
most manga have like shading.
Most manga,
like
yeah. And so everything is very bold,
very striking, as all the
very
art teachers like to
striking,
say.
yeah.
God damn.
But I will say, to the anime's credit, and this is a personal bias by all means, I'm not saying that it's either better nor worse than the manga at all. But the big thing for me that is a plus is that the actual OST is done by one of my favorite composers, which is Kensuke Ushio.
I knew you were gonna bring up the OST. You're right, though.
And he's really good. He's like actually one of my favorite composers as far as a lot of like anime soundtracks, because he has a very unique way of composition where he actually uses a lot of diegetic sound.
Didactic, right?
Diegetic.
Oh, diegetic. Okay, what's didactic? Something different.
What is didactic?
I don't know. I'll look it up later.
But basically, all that means is that it's typically sound that's found within the actual environment itself. Like, for instance, in some of the soundtracks within ping pong, there's actual ping pong matches, like sounds of ping pong matches that are kind of incorporated within the soundtrack. And it is kind of matched within the actual frames of the anime itself as well, too. So it's like, it's just really cool to see that, and the way that you use music, and it's a very atmospheric type of soundtrack. End of the day, another really good use of it as well too is in Liz and the Bluebird. That one is another one of my favorites. But Dude, we'll talk about that another day.
I mean, yeah, I think in terms of composers, he's one of like if you nerd out in like anime and like like who some of the composers are, he's like definitely one of the most distinct in his work because of, like you said, that kind of like use of like natural sound in the soundtracks. And he's done like really big recent work. Like he did a Silent Voice. He just did he just did Chainsaw Man, which was huge in the anime community. So he's like a big name. He's great. I love him too.
But yeah, like I said, I couldn't nerd over. I'm not a music major. I just really like music. I probably would have been like a band geek if I ever took any formal music in my life.
We're titling this episode "Eric Nerds Out About Things He Likes," which is beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. I love that.
Definitely, we're an anime podcast now.
Dude, we should. We didn't talk about nearly enough anime for an anime podcast. Like,
not yet.
Anyway,
we should
call
probably
to action for the viewers and listeners. Leave us your questions. I know this is the second episode in a row that I'm saying this, but I wanna make sure that we get at least a few.
I'm gonna start hunting y'all down.
Yeah,
if you know me, be scared. Because I'm gonna ask you directly. Live. I know where most of you live. I will be there.
Be scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, ask us questions. Hopefully that should be coming soon. I'm excited. I already have some questions actually. I have some interesting ones. Yeah, they're not as like about us. They're more like hypothetical questions.
Okay.
You know what? I'll tease one.
Would
you, the members of the podcast, donate a kidney for each other to save the other's life?
It's funny you asked that because I feel like my kidney's been having issues lately.
My answer might change depending on how that goes.
Anyway, we'll figure out whether or not Eric's life will be saved next episode.
Take it easy.